Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to HISTOPHTV, where we have the honor of hosting a true luminary in the dance community today. Our guest is not just a paragon of grace on stage, but also a trailblazer in shaping the dance scene in the Philippines. But before that, I should introduce myself and my partner for today. Magandang gabi. My name is Ashley, and I will be one of the hosts for today's episode of HISTOPH TV. Alongside me is my fellow host, Carlos.
Good afternoon, and thank you for introducing me, Ashley. It's a great day to talk about Philippine dance. And speaking of Philippine dance, I can't wait to know our inspiring guest for today. Shall we get started? So, today we are here with the one and only Sofia Elizalde, ready to delve into her philanthropic endeavors and insight into the future of dance in the Philippines. So, let's begin this exciting new episode of HISTOPH TV. Miss Sophia, let us start from the early years of your career. How and why did you start dancing? Was there a specific turning point in your training that had a significant impact on your decision to pursue a dance career?
Yes. Hi, Carlos and Ashley. Thank you so much for inviting me this morning. It's an honor to be with you both today. So I started dancing actually, I was just thinking about it the other day, but I've practically been involved in dance my entire life. I started dancing at the age of 4, and I immediately loved it. I was drawn to the music, I was drawn to the movement, and I don't think I ever stopped since then. So I started very young, and I think it was when I was very young and I started dancing at the CCP Dance School, which was a very serious school at the time and quite competitive. And it was the school that was connected to Ballet Philippines, then the CCP Dance Company. And it was when I started seeing the company rehearsing and performing a lot that I was sort of addicted to being in the rehearsal hall. I couldn't get enough of it. I always wanted to be there. I always wanted to be watching the dancers. And I think it's when I was invited to be a part of their very first full-length Nutcracker that I just loved every aspect of the performing side. I loved being part of this, company. And at the time, when I first joined, I was one of the young children in the party scene in Act 1. And I think that's when I fell in love with the whole aspect of, wanting to be a professional dancer and wanting to be a part of this wonderful art form. And then it just continued from there. But I believe that's really when I discovered that this is really what I wanted.
You had an exceptional journey, that is without a doubt. Can you discuss key milestones in your career, such as joining a professional company, receiving awards, or achieving personal goals?
There have been so many wonderful milestones. I feel very blessed in my life, but it's quite amazing. But when you let your passion, when you're driven by your passion, you follow it in a straight line, beautiful milestones come your way. I would say, when I was at Elmhurst Ballet School in England, which is where I did my high school, I got the Sylphide Cup for most outstanding performance when I graduated. So that was a big milestone for me. And then maybe being a part of Ballet Philippines. I danced professionally with them for 8 years. I toured with them. I did some of the most incredible works choreographed by Denisa Reyes, Alice Reyes, who's now a national artist, and actually being able to work with many artists that are now national artists were milestones for me during that time. But I would say that my years in Ballet Philippines were definitely a highlight. And when we toured to Russia, I danced Carmen. That was really quite a highlight for me that I will never forget. We stayed in Russia for almost a month at the time, and it was communist still at the time. So it's very ingrained in my mind. I feel very fortunate that I was able to experience that. And then after I danced with Ballet Philippines, I decided to put up my school, which was 30 years ago. This year, I am celebrating 30 years of my school. Can you imagine? So it was definitely a milestone to kick off my school, which began back then, I believe it was 1994, July 18. I started my first day of my school. And today, this year, we're celebrating the 30th anniversary. So that's another milestone. And during my 30 years of the school, I think, wow, there have been so many milestones. I don't know where to begin. But I think if I had to highlight what was most important during my years of my school is the alumni that have come out of my school. I am proud to say that I've been able to place a lot of our dancers dancing in local companies and companies abroad, and the incredible artists that I have had the pleasure of meeting throughout my whole journey of 30 years of my school. I've met some wonderful dance artists along the way who have become great friends of mine. And, I feel very fortunate to know them and to be their friends up to today.
It's evident that your experiences have shaped you as an artist, Miss. Were there specific dancers, teachers, or performances that shaped your approach to performing and now teaching?
Well, definitely. I think some of my, throughout my dance career, there were certain teachers in my life that I've never forgotten. When I was in England, I had an incredible teacher from South Africa called Mercia Hetherington. One of the best teachers I have ever had in my lifetime. And unfortunately, she passed away. But to this day, I continue to tell every single student that walks into my school the same points, the same corrections. It just sort of comes out of my mouth. And it's because everything she taught me is still, it still works up to today. There are teaching points that I will never forget, and I constantly share with my other students. Another teacher that I will never forget was Bill Morgan, who worked many, many years while I was in Ballet Philippines. One of the most incredible teachers I've ever had, and mentors as well. And then, of course, my artistic directors, Denise Reyes was one of my favorite artistic directors. She taught me a lot about contemporary dance. Alice Reyes, now national artist, also a director of ours, taught me a great deal about not only choreography and dance techniques, but the discipline of being in a dance company and its format and its structure. I feel she was one of the pioneers of that, way back then. So, it's all and then of course, all the performances I did as a professional dancer. I think I share with my students and any dancers that come my way. I always share with them the values, the discipline, the culture that I went through as a young girl. And, I still continue to practice up to today.
It's a privilege to know more about you, Miss. Our professors often remind us that the road in dance is never linear and that curveballs always enhance one's career. We feel we heard it again coming from you. So before we delve deeper into this discussion, we'll have a short break and come back to talk about philanthropy in the arts. Stay tuned.
To pick up from where we left off, we would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on the successful dancers you have developed through the STEPS Scholarship Foundation. Hello, sorry, my mic cut off.
Yeah.
Let me start again. I'm so sorry. To pick up where we left from, we would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on the successful dancers you have developed through the STEPS Scholarship Foundation. What personal values spurred you to create the STEPS Scholarship Foundation? And for a follow-up question for this topic, how did you manage to work with Foundation Center for Excellence, or CENTEX, as a partner?
Yes. So early on, when I started my school, probably about 10 years after I began, I started to see that there were a lot of very, very talented students that really wanted to train more seriously in my school. But unfortunately, you know, when you, for any student, the more you practice, I mean, if you're very serious about your dancing, you have to really train almost every day. And when I came across very strong students, when I would encourage them to come almost every day, they financially they couldn't, you know, afford it. They would have, you know, they were having trouble financially. So, and it was very frustrating for me because I said, you know, this girl or this boy has so much talent, and if he came in, you know, 5 days a week, he would probably have a good chance of becoming a professional dancer. So that's when I early on, I saw the need to create a scholarship foundation to allow very, very gifted students who couldn't afford regular daily classes to be able to come in. Well, the moment I did that and you know, had auditions for students that really wanted to train very seriously, that's when the magic happened. I think that that's when I really started to create very, very good dancers, very strong dancers. And these were actually the kids that went on to professional companies. So that was started first. And then my family, who started Ayala Foundation, started two wonderful schools called the CENTEX schools, one in Tondo and one in Bawan, Batangas. So they chose two areas where they wanted to give opportunities to children from, from more humble backgrounds who wanted a very strong education, and you know, they put up these schools because they felt that it was in areas like this where you could probably find incredible leaders, future leaders for the country. So the schools began, and it was free tuition for all the students, because the students, to be able to get in, they had to be average to high IQ. So they're all very smart kids, but unfortunately, they didn't have any sports programs and they didn't have any arts programs. So then I approached them and I said, you know, would you want an arts program? They jumped at it and said, absolutely. And that's when I began in Tondo. I went to audition kids, and I'll never forget, I said, okay, everybody in grade 2, 3, and 4 can come. Whoever wants to be in the dance program, just come to the audition. And they all came. And not one stayed behind. And typical, you know, I had such a hard time choosing that I took them all. And I said, okay, let's get this started. And the other thing I did, which was, I really believe in giving these kids the equal opportunities to my paying students in STEP. So I figured there was nowhere I could really give them proper dance training in their school. And I felt that if I really wanted to create strong dancers from the Tondo CENTEX school, they had to have a proper studio, proper floor, mirrors, everything that regular students also had. So I decided to put them in jeepneys every Friday and Saturday and bring them to my studio. So I had to raise money for that, but I'm proud to say that every weekend they would jump into their jeepney and come over to my school, and they would have classes like everybody else. And again, that's when I was able to really create incredible dancers. In fact, one of them was Elwin's Magbitang, and who is now, fast forward, a company member with the American Ballet Theatre. So there you have it. When you give students equal opportunities at life, you would be amazed at I call it the magic, you know, that can happen when you get a child that is naturally gifted and you give that child the equal opportunity and training. they really blossom. And this boy, who was a little kid from Tondo, is now dancing at the Lincoln Center in New York with American Ballet Theater. So I'm very proud of that.
Okay, so Miss, what is the core mission of the STEPS Scholarship Foundation, and how do you decide on your scholarship recipients?
Yes, so actually the STEP Scholarship Foundation has several missions. Number one, to give Filipino young students who are very serious about their dance training, to give them the opportunities to, to sort of a very high level of training. The Scholarship Foundation also supports teachers. I've supported several teachers to become RAD certified teachers in England. And we also team up with other dance establishments. We collaborate with them. We do collaborations. I help out during the pandemic. I gave a lot of support to several groups during that time. And anything to do with bringing up the standards of dance in the Philippines is really part of its mission. So it's through collaborating with other groups. It's helping students, helping teachers, and helping anything that will sort of raise the bar in dance here in our country. Like, we even support Fifth Wall Fest, which was started by an alumni of STEPS, Madge Reyes. She started the first dance film festival in the Philippines, and I support this very much because I feel that dance film is just as important as live dance, and I think it helps to promote dance all over the country. And very importantly, I think dance film is helping to create new audiences. Whenever I go to her Fifth Wall Fest, I see a lot of young people coming to the theater to watch dance film, and I think it's very important in the growth of dance in the country. So that's basically, what the STEPS Foundation aims to do.
Your presence as mover of the STEPS Scholarship Foundation in the dance community is undoubtedly profound, Miss Sofia. What are the foundation's urgent needs, and what other areas of opportunity do you see for the foundation?
Well, the hardest part of having any foundation is the fundraising. It's, there is just no other way around it. Fundraising is not easy. It's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of dedication. And I spend a lot of my time doing exactly that, trying to create events where we can raise money, and also going to individuals directly and sharing with them what we're doing. But that's, that's definitely one of the toughest, parts of running a foundation. Urgent needs, I would say really fundraising for any company or any foundation is really the hardest part. But everything's possible, and I think if you really put your mind to it, and it's also creative thinking. I think you have to be creative in the way you raise money, and I think if you do good work and you're sincere about your work, I do believe that you do catch people's attention. And I feel that in fundraising for things like my foundation, showing gratitude is very important, and creating long-term friendships with donors, companies, friends is key to people wanting to continually support your foundation. And of course, when they see what the foundation has done and they see the results, people really do want to give. So I think that's the most difficult area in running a foundation, but it is possible.
Incredible work. Now, considering the impact you've made, how much more of an impact do you hope to achieve with your foundation?
Well, it's funny that you say that, ask that question, because one of the newest things I've done with the foundation is before the pandemic, I, I set up the dance program in Tondo, but the school in Bawan, Batangas had so many lovely artists. They had a violin program already with Coke Polipata, and they didn't have a dance program. So before the pandemic, I actually helped them build. I did a fundraiser. I brought American Ballet Theater studio company to perform in the Philippines, and we raised a good amount of money. And we built a studio in Bawan, and I named it the Stella Abrera Dance and Music Hall. After I named it after a good friend, one of the personalities I got to meet during my lifetime in dance, and she's become a dear friend of mine, and the first Filipina actually to become a principal dancer with ABT. So I named the studio after her, and after all her achievements with the company. And because of the pandemic, we weren't able to, we just built it, and then the pandemic hit and we couldn't be active. And only 2 years ago, we were able to kick off the school. And just yesterday, I was at the school and preparing children for their very first Royal Academy of Dance exam, which is an international, syllabus. And it just gave me so great pride. We had 37 students that have been taking ballet for 2 years already in the school, and they were preparing for their exam. And it was really very heartwarming for me to see this happening in Bawan, Batangas, in the studio that we built. And this was done by my foundation. And I really hope, I think it's made a great impact for them. Just seeing the faces of their parents watching this, how a Royal Academy of Dance exam goes, and seeing the discipline in the room and having the parents watch them really gave me great joy. And I think that this is the start of many, many years to come for this school. Many years of their arts program growing and becoming stronger. And I really hope that this arts program in Batangas continues to grow, and we're studying, maybe allowing other students from that area to come in and to train with this STEPS program that we've put there. And I'm very happy about what's happening there, and you really see how arts in a school, in a small school like the Centex Batangas, can really add so much to their education. They're very smart kids. They're very musical, they're very artistic, and now they have this very professional dance program. I'm really looking forward to, again, the magic that will happen with these students. And my hope is that we will be able to produce some incredible young kids from that school to become professional dancers in the future.
Thank you for that wonderful insight, Miss Sophia. Now we will be back after a short break.
And we're back. Shifting gears a bit, but how do you shape your family and STEPS community values? How do you teach your children and students about philanthropy?
Well, I would say that I believe that the best way to teach is by example. And I've never really told people, oh, you have to give back. Oh, you have to. I never really do that. My parents brought me up, really helping so much in so many ways, and with so many communities. I think my parents are my heroes, in the sense that since I was a little girl, I saw them really helping to touch lives and helping, so many different charity groups, and doing so much philanthropy that naturally myself, along with my 6 other siblings, have naturally done a lot of philanthropy, because we saw our parents do it, and it got ingrained in us because through their example. And I'm now starting to see that my own children, they grew up seeing me do all of this, and I know they're very proud of what I've achieved. And now I see them in their own way doing the same thing. And interestingly enough, we just had auditions a few days ago in my school for my 30th anniversary, auditions for our new scholarships. And a big group of my alumni got together and told me, they call me Teacher Sofia, and they said, Teacher Sofia, we want to tell you that we're raising money. And as of today, they've raised 107,000 pesos, and they want this money to go to a very gifted up and coming scholar. So there you have it. You have an example of how when you teach by example, it's kind of infectious. And, when people have been touched in their life in a very special way, and they were given an opportunity in life, more often than not, they want to do the same. So I would say, teaching by example is extremely important. And I think that this is evident in my children and in my students.
What a joy to hear such wisdom from you, Miss Sophia. Now, let's touch on your personal experiences. What has been your best giving experience and your worst?
Oh, what's my best giving experience? Well, I wouldn't say, I don't think there's one particular example. I think giving has been a huge part of my life since I could start giving. I mean, as a young girl, you don't have the capacity to give, but I think when I became an adult and I started my school and I started my foundation, I think every scholar that I've been able to touch the life of, every student that has come into my school, and giving is not just monetary. Giving is giving of your time, giving of your advice, and sometimes giving an ear to listen to a student and listening to maybe some problems that they're having and how you can help them make this better. That's also a way of giving. So I think I've been doing that for 30 years in my school. And the worst, well, there isn't really a worst, but I think that when you do give, sometimes I think what can be frustrating sometimes is when you do give wholeheartedly to a project or something, when the people receiving it don't show gratitude. I feel that can be frustrating sometimes, because sometimes when you're a donor, you give with so much love, but then when you never hear back from them, or you never even get a simple thank you, sometimes that can be a little frustrating, because I think sometimes it doesn't feel good to be taken for granted sometimes. And I've always made a mental note of that when I deal with donors, when I deal with people who give, I always make sure to thank them. And I always tell my students, always thank the people that have touched your life. Never take them for granted, and always show gratitude. I think that is part of the values that I teach. And I think that's something that also came from my parents. And I teach my children this, and I teach my students this all the time. And I always tell students, be grateful to your parents that they supported you and stood by you every step of the way, because it's not easy for them many times. And so I would say showing gratitude is very, very important.
Speaking of support, how can private donors reach out to help with the sources of funding that the foundation may not cover?
Well, private donors can always reach out to my school, and they just have to get the information. They can meet with me anytime. They can call me for a meeting. What I love to do is I love to bring friends and donors into my studio quite often. I invite them to come and watch rehearsals. And I find that I really don't have to say much. I think the dancing speaks for itself. The students speak for themselves. And many, more often than not, when friends and donors come in and they see the incredible work that's happening in the studio, they always say, how can I help? And I always say, nothing is too big or too small. I think that, everybody can help in their own way, whether it's giving time to teach, or whether it's, giving a small donation of any kind. Everything adds up. So, like I said, nothing is too small. And if you are passionate about the arts and you want to give back in some way, please reach out and reach out to us at Steps Dance Studio, and I'd be happy to get in touch with anybody. And I welcome them to come in, and then just let them decide for themselves that this is a foundation that they want to support.
Your dedication is truly inspiring, Miss Sofia. As much as we want to continue on with this segment, we will have to take a short break. So stay with us as we come back to talk about the forecast on dance in the Philippines. And we're back in HISTOPHTV with Miss Sofia. Now let's look ahead. Are there emerging trends or styles that you believe will play a significant role in shaping the future of dance in the Philippines?
Well, I've seen one thing I've seen recently is a lot of from past generations of dancers. I see a lot of small companies forming now, a lot of small contemporary companies and progressive companies. I think this is wonderful. I find that from past generations, they're now sort of doing their own thing. Like I mentioned earlier, Madre Reyes has now the Fifth Wall Fest, and then you have PJ Rebolida, also a former again student of mine, scholar of mine, who then went on to dance professionally and now has Galao PH. I think that a lot of dance personalities are now taking dance in their own way, and I think that's wonderful. And I think that all of this is helping to shape dance in the Philippines. We have 3 strong dance companies now, which I think is very good. I think schools like Benilde have very strong dance programs also. So definitely I feel that dance has stayed strong. I mean, even if dance has had its hardships in fundraising, which is always difficult, they've really stayed strong. And I think Filipinos are natural artists. I don't think dance will ever die in our country because it's ingrained in our culture. It's ingrained in who we are as Filipinos. I think Filipinos are natural artists. I think this is one of our strengths. And I think that Filipinos have to find their voice and in their own style. And I see this happening with the younger generations now. So there, I think that, a lot of good things are happening.
That's an intriguing viewpoint you made, Miss Sofia. Now, in the upcoming years, how do you see Philippine dance's choreography work and artistic expression developing?
I think that it's definitely developing, but I find that now with social media and all the tools that we have, I think that anyone in the dance community, first and foremost, should look into their own culture here in the Philippines and really study its history and its depth of culture, and come up with their own, their own ideas on choreography based on our heritage. But at the same time, I think exposure to the rest of the world is incredibly important. And I think that if you're a young dance student or a young dance choreographer, I think you should take the time to watch choreographies of choreographers all over the world, whether it's, contemporary or classical or neoclassic. I think exposing oneself to what's happening around the world now, I think is incredibly important. Dance is changing almost every day. It's becoming really athletic. The form and shape of it is keeps on transitioning. And I think I don't believe in staying old fashioned. I really believe in being progressive and keeping up with the times, because in the end, we have to bring those audiences in, right, to the theater. And if you are too old fashioned, you're not going to catch people's attention. We compete against so much technology that we still need to make live performance in a theater very exciting. And the only way to do that is to really stay current and to stay progressive and to be very strong and to show new exciting choreographic works that are visually really pleasing, music choices, all of that is very, very important. And I think that any artist should really stay updated with what's going on and continue to be progressive.
As we near the end of the interview, we would like to ask, how can dance education and training programs in the Philippines be enhanced to prepare dancers for the evolving demands of the art form?
Definitely. One thing I believe is that dancers should be able to dance anything. I really believe in a well-rounded dance education. 30 years ago, there was this belief that if you did ballet, you should only use ballet. If you do contemporary, you should only do contemporary. I never believed that 30 years ago. When I started my school, I always wanted my students to come to a school where you could train in everything. And I'm proud to say that today, I see that has been incredibly helpful to my students that are now in professional companies, because choreographers now, they do a lot of contemporary, they do a lot of neoclassic, and dancers have to be able to move in any way or form. It's not easy to get jobs nowadays. Classical ballet is very competitive, and in contemporary, movement keeps changing. So if you want to be a very strong dancer and you want options of jobs, you got to be able to move in every way or form. You have to be able to be open to working with any choreographer. A choreographer will work with that dancer that is not afraid to move out of their comfort zone. And I always push my students, if you're a classical ballet dancer, you got to do a little bit of jazz. You have to feel that way of moving. And if you're very comfortable in contemporary, you've got to do some ballet training, so that when you do go into that audition, whatever they ask you to do, even improvisation, you're so comfortable with it that you can really give whoever is choreographing you or teaching you, you know your body so well that you can shift to any dance style whenever you want. And I think it's those dancers that become very successful in life. So I think dance education should be very well-rounded.
We would like to add a follow-up question. Do you think that ballet schools and other educational institutions have the opportunity to work together to further develop the area of education?
Yes, 100%. I think that collaborations are very important. And I think that dance teachers should always stay connected somehow. But I also believe in like-minded, normally it's the like-minded teachers that tend to gravitate towards each other because they have the same values and beliefs. And it's natural. Some schools, have their way of thinking, and other schools have other ways of thinking. But 100%, I think that, one thing I can say also after many years of being a dancer and 30 years of having a school, we never stop learning. And the day that you think you know it all is the day that you stop becoming a good teacher. Every year, every day, every moment that I'm in my school, I'm always learning something new, whether it's from, dealing with interpersonal relationships within the school, management or teachers, or dealing with students, dealing with training. I learn something new all the time. So, it's just a constant learning. So you have to really keep an open mind. Never think that you know everything, because you don't. And take the time to chat with other teachers in schools and listen to what works for them and where do they have difficulties, and exchange ideas and views on how we can become better. I think we need to do more of that. But in the world of the arts, it's just never ending learning. And But if you love what you do, you just keep growing.
So for now, for our final question, does philanthropy in the arts exist in the Philippines, or is it still on an upclimbed hill? Do you have any advice for budding philanthropists out there? What is your advice for budding philanthropists?
Yes, well, philanthropy will always come hand in hand with the arts, because it's only, in very few countries, actually, like in Germany, they're very fortunate because the government helps a lot with dance. In fact, they finance a lot of companies because they believe that dance brings in tourism. Unfortunately, in many other parts of the world, dance companies survive purely through philanthropy. So they really go hand in hand, and it's just part. It's something. We can complain all day that the arts doesn't get enough money. Of course, it would be a dream for the government to give more money to the arts. That's always a dream. But if there isn't that support, I think that we should never give up fundraising. And I say again, creative thinking. You've got to be creative in the way you raise money. We are part of a creative art form, and we should think creatively in the way that we fundraise, in the way that we inspire people to give. And many times, if like I said, if you teach by example or you inspire by example, then people naturally come forward and want to help and want to give. So yeah, I think got to be creative in the way you raise money for your foundations.
Thank you so much, Miss Sophia, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's been an honor to have this enlightening conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be with all of you here at Benilde.
Before we end this episode of HISTOPHTV, do you have anything you want to share with the audience that can pique their interest, such as events or shows that you're hosting or involved in?
No, I just want to say that to all the dance and art students in Benilde and anybody watching this, like everything in life, nothing is easy. But when you really, really are passionate about the arts, it's an incredible journey, and it may be difficult at times, but it's very, very rewarding. And never give up, because no matter how difficult sometimes it is, and the hard work, it's really, really very fulfilling. And it's a beautiful art form to be a part of. And just never give up and continue to enjoy it in every way or form that you can.
Once again, we would like to share our deepest gratitude with Miss Sofia Elizalde for her precious time today to share.
And to our viewers, thank you for keeping in touch with us on this special episode of HISTOPHTV. Until next time, keep dancing and supporting the arts, and stay tuned for another episode of HISTOPHTV.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss.